welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. This is Market Today. I'm Sakshi Batra and with me is Shail Bhatnagar. Well, the Nifty made a new intraday record high of 23,110 yesterday. However, contrary to the norm, instead of settling at or close to those record high levels, we've actually seen some profits being taken off, and Nifty fell 200 points from the day's high level in the final 1.5 hours of the trading session as well. And it did, close absolutely flat with the negative bias at 22,932. The Nifty Bank, on the other hand, outperformed over the last few trading sessions. It's now nearing the mark of 50,000, especially led by HDFC Bank. Now, as for today, there are stocks like LIC, Nalco, NMDC, Jubilant Industries, which will be reacting to their earnings, which they have reported after the market hours yesterday. Also, Amara Raja Batteries, Aster DM, Barmer Lorry, Brigade Enterprises, IRCTC, Linde India, Prestige Estates will be some of the stocks that will be reporting their earnings today. But this week, it's all about how investors and traders pre-position before the election outcome. Good morning to all our viewers and good morning, Shail.
गुड मॉर्निंग लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन. मंगलवार है तो मंगल ही होगा, लेकिन ज़रा कुछ कुर्सी की पेटी और कस लेते हैं. देर आर अ लॉट ऑफ डिफिकल्ट डेज अहेड. साक्षी, यू राइटली मेंशन्ड वी हैड अ रिकॉर्ड हाई ऑन एन इंट्राडे बेसिस yesterday, 2310 on the Nifty. The Bank Nifty still a whisker away from the 50,000 mark. Nevertheless, it went all the way up to 49,690. Now, this is, what you see on the surface. The story, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely different. What we'll do is we'll start with our daily chart of the Nifty, the Bank Nifty, and then I'll show you the India VIX. So the Nifty is with a mild negative tick yesterday, 22,932. We were unable to hold on to the 23,000 level, and that's a point of concern. Sakshi, we've had 3 days of successive days of the Nifty trying to climb above the 23,000 point mark and failing. Remember, the chart that you see has a 12-day uptick. That is from a low of 21,821. We've gone all the way to 23,810. Ladies and gentlemen, the Nifty is now sluggish after such a smart rally of about 1,200 points in a span of 10 trading sessions. So at this level, one has to be of extreme cautious as far as long trades are concerned. And in fact, because we are ahead of an event, which is the exit polls on Saturday and the full result of the election on June 4th, it is sensible to convert a large part of your trading profits into cash and sit on the sidelines. This is the situation of the Nifty. I'll request the PCR to now fire the chart of the Bank Nifty. You saw a very positive close, 310, 49,281 as far as the Bank Nifty is concerned, and that's primarily because its heaviest weighted component, the HDFC Bank, closed above the 200-day moving average. You'll also see the chart of HDFC Bank on the screen. Now, the problem here is that the Nifty Bank actually fell 400 points from its intraday high, which was 49,690, and that is because of India VIX. The chart of India VIX is right there in front of you. Sakshi, it rose 6.9% yesterday. That really is not the trouble. We've been seeing this inexorable rise in India VIX because of the main event ahead. But look at the size of the bar. The high of India VIX yesterday was 26.19 and the low was 18.43. Sakshi, the level of losses that traders have made post 230 has been phenomenal because of this intense volatility. So the difference between the high and low, ladies and gentlemen, is 35%, and that has killed a lot of options traders if you look at how the markets reacted in the last half an hour of trade. Also, what has happened is that a lot of people have now become neutral. Remember, on Wednesday, which was 22nd of May, our foreign friends were bearish on Indian markets. They had a net negative of 2.19 lakh contracts on the Nifty. Now they are in neutral position over the last 3 trading sessions. In fact, they've put in a positive 22,500 22,500 net contracts on the Nifty. So Sakshi, they have also become neutral. It is the best strategy as of now to sort of book your profits if you have trading profits for the next over the next 2 or 3 trading sessions, and sit quietly on the sidelines. Sakshi, if you recollect, we had mentioned that yesterday's rally, except for a couple of stocks like RVNL and Cochin Shipyard, was bereft of volumes. Therefore, whatever jumps that you are seeing in prices is mainly on low volumes, and that has to be kept in mind. If you look at the Nifty options chain, there is a very, very heavy concentration of call writing on 23,000, which essentially means that the bulls are unable to break past 23,000, and there is a decent support at 22,800. Given the high volatility and the fact that the Nifty is showing all signs of fatigue, it's always best to remain on sidelines. If you are a very aggressive trader, then only look at dips towards 22,800 to purchase. Let's hope that holds. But for the moment, I think it's always good to be cautious. It's always good to remain in cash. If you have trading profits, book them. If you have a large chunk of profit in your investment book, also book a part of it. And then of course you will get an opportunity to enter the market lower on Monday or substantially higher on Monday, but that is a risk that everybody takes. Please also take an independent financial view. Now the bad news: US 10-year yield is up for the 3rd day. Crude oil prices are up for the 3rd day. That's a bit of a negative for domestic markets. Earnings, we have the Fin Nifty expiry. As far as the main index is concerned, the index of course has also risen sharply over the last 3 days. Earnings reaction: blowout from Nalco, a mild performance from NMDC. We've seen disappointment for the 3rd quarter in a row on NMDC. LIC of India, very smart annual premium earned, which was up 11% for the 4th quarter, and the value of new businesses also increased dramatically. Remember, Nalco and NMDC are the shining stars as far as the metal space is concerned. Over the last 1 year, both of them have appreciated more than 100%. Sakshi will give you the numbers, but from Nalco, it's a huge performance. Profit is up 100% for the 4th quarter, mainly because of an exceptional gain. Earnings today: Aditya Birla Fashion Retail, IRCTC, RITES and GNFC, amongst many others that Business Today is tracking, and 3 major block deals, ladies and gentlemen. This is also a point of concern. Promoters are taking this record high opportunity to book out partially of their own stakes. Inox Wind, the counter in the month of May alone, they are going to have a 5% stake sale. As far as a block deal is concerned, somewhere like 148, 150 rupees a price. It shut shop at 164. There is another block deal at Timken India. 6.6% stake will be sold by its Singaporean parent Timken Overseas to the extent of about 1750 crore rupees. Keep an eye out on this. Month to date gain on Timken India is 18%, and of course Concord Biotech, somewhere like 1320, you'll see a block deal happening for 470 crores. So this is what I am watching. Cues from overseas are how should I say, zero, because Wall Street is shut. Sakshi, what are the foreign friends telling you, and what's the update coming in from Asia?
Absolutely, Shail. So financial markets in the US have been closed for Memorial Day overnight. The US futures market, however, are indicating a flattish trade along with the Asian markets. So the benchmarks in Asian Pacific markets trading slightly lower in the early trading action, especially they're cautious before the release of a slew of economic data from the entire region. So you do see about a 1/10% dip on the Nikkei, but Kospi and Hang Seng are managing to eke out about 1/10 to 3/10% kind of gains right now. Shanghai is down by 1/10% again. Now, remember, inflation data from Japan, Australia and Euro region are scheduled to be released later this week. So that will be an overhang for the entire region as well. Benchmark indices, Sensex and the Nifty are expected to open flat with a negative bias following GIFT Nifty trends, which are indicating a loss of about 14 odd points in trade. FIIs sold Indian equities worth 541 odd crore rupees in yesterday's trading action. And on the other hand, we did see that the domestic institutional investors, they bought about 922 odd crore rupees days worth of equities on the same day. As far as stocks are concerned, some of the cues already shared by Shell, but we'll be watching out for LIC. For Q4 standalone year-on-year numbers, they show that net premium income is up by 15.6% at 1.5 lakh crore rupees, but the value new margins business is at 17.2%, again very subdued versus 17.5%. We've also seen that the net profit is up just about 2.5% at 13,763 odd crore rupees as well. There's a 6 rupee dividend that has been announced. That goes, a large part of this goes to the government's kitty. And when we talk about the company's intention to now enter into health insurance, will be the next space that we'll be watching out for and tracking for LIC going forward. Nalco has reported a profit after tax which has jumped 101% at 996 odd crores. Revenue, however, has dipped to 3,597 odd crore rupees. There's an exceptional gain of about 426 odd crore rupees that we'll be watching out for in terms of Nalco. Natco Pharma, on a Q4 FY24 consolidated basis, here the revenue has shot up 19% at 1,068 odd crore rupees versus 898 crore rupees. Now EBITDA is improved by 46.7% at 497 odd crores. Margins have improved substantially to 46.6% versus 37.8%. The net profit is up by 40% at 386 odd crore rupees in this quarter. AstraZeneca Pharma, again revenue has improved by almost 35% at 383 odd crores. EBITDA, however, came down by 17.6%. Margins came in sharply lower at 12.9% versus 21%, but the net profit has improved by 129 odd percent at about 39 odd crore rupees versus 17 crore rupees earlier. GMDC reported consolidated FY24 Q4 numbers on a year-on-year basis. Revenue down by 20.8% at 751 odd crore rupees. EBITDA down by 47% at 205 crores. Margins came in sharply lower at 27.4% versus 41.1%, and the profit also came down by 53% at 207 odd crore rupees. So there could be some pressure. Yesterday the stock fell by 1.6%. Sumitomo Chemical, that's also I'm looking at Q4 consolidated YOY numbers show that the revenue uptick was about 3.5% at 674 crore rupees. Margins came in at 20.8 crore rupees versus 12.4%, so an improvement there. The net profit improved sharply by 52% odd at 110 crore rupees as well. So those are some of the key earnings that we are looking at. Share.
So 8:54, ladies and gentlemen, we are waiting for the markets to open. We are about 6 minutes away, and that's how the cookie is at this point of time. There is a cool off as far as main indices are concerned, although the extent of heat, especially in Delhi, is unbearable. Sakshi, let me share an interesting data. iPhones are not charging beyond 80%. The phone gets heated up externally as well as internally. That is the extent of heat that you have, ladies and gentlemen, in Delhi and North India. 46 degrees yesterday, and it's climbing. And remember, we are at the end of May. The worst month, June, is yet to be upon us. Let's also look at some other interesting data. We'll be focusing very intensely on the FMCG space, ladies and gentlemen, for one very positive reason. Yesterday, the Indian Meteorological Department gave its second forecast for the incoming monsoon. That's absolutely normal, and it's supposed to be headed towards Kerala on June 1st. Dharmesh Kant has joined us, Head of Research at Cholamandalam Securities, is with us. Namaste, Dharmesh ji. Is this volatility bothering you? A 400-point sell-off on the Bank Nifty, a 200-point sell-off on the Nifty. We are unable to climb beyond 23,000 on the index. Any view?
Yeah, Namaste, Salji. Good morning, Sakshi and viewers. See, the volatility has to be there as we, come more closer to the election verdict. And these are very small volatilities. I mean, at 23,000 Nifty levels, even if 1% correction happens, that is 230 points on Nifty, and which should be normal in the normal course of the market. And if you look at the market since November last year, I mean, 7 months we are into running from 19,000 to 23,000. Wherever there was extreme pessimism building up, and wherever puts and shorts were created in the market, that squeezed so harshly that there has been a bother with the people who are all negative on the market. Coming on to the fundamentals, the numbers this Q4 was very good. In fact, 30% kind of a PAT growth on an aggregate of 490 companies was there. The only exception being chemicals did bad and IT stocks did not perform to that extent as far as numbers are concerned. So barring these two sectors, it was a pretty good set of numbers. Our own sense was for FY24, 1050 kind of a Nifty EPS. We are already at 1035. Two companies are yet to report numbers. So maybe 10, 12 rupees we will miss on the EPS estimate. But that's largely in line. So at 1050 kind of an EPS at 23,000 on a TTM basis, the market is still not very expensive. It's 21, 22 times P multiple. So I do think we are sitting pretty, we are just staying put on all our long bets. And we expect after this volatility, whichever is there, 300-400 points, again, the uptrend will resume as we go into the build-up of the budget. And the point here is this budget will be very good because we have seen the run rate of GST collection, 50,000 odd plus of per month, additional elbow room is there. So that will come to 5-6 lakh crore of additional revenue for the entire year. At the same time, the dividends from RBI and all is helping that. So I think it's a pretty rosy set of environment as of now. And alarming part is there is no negative factor to discount for in the present juncture.
Dharmesh ji, right ahead of the elections, how are you pre-positioning yourself? Any places where you're booking out profits from? Anywhere you're deploying fresh cash in?
Not yet, Sakshi. We have not booked out of anywhere. The pre-positioning was very clear from last 6-7 months. We have been carrying the same, sectors, and those sectors have been railway, infra, defense, power. These were the three prime sectors. Banking also we had a good exposure, but somehow that has not performed to the extent these other sectors have performed. So we are staying put there. As far as fresh allocation is concerned, if anybody is coming for new money, so we are recommending more of a defensive and a deep value buy kind of a pick, and where the stock prices have not moved up. And two names there are both from the public sector space, from the insurance space, and that is LIC of India and GIC. So there we find in case of a volatility, if it comes and if someone toward, news flow surrounds the elections, then these pockets will see a buying traction because the kind of flow which is coming into the market is humongous from both DIIs and the retail investors. So that will take care of any fall which comes through. So insurance space we are looking at, and two names are LIC of India and GIC.
Okay, got that. LIC of
Okay,
India and
ladies
GIC.
We'll wait for the pre-open prices to be upon us. Remember, it's Tuesday. Remember, we've already rallied 11 days out of 12, and yesterday we saw a mild sell-off. The Nifty is flat as and nothing could be better after yesterday's carnage in the last half an hour. 26 points down, 22,900. Now let's look at what the three index heavyweights are doing. More importantly, HDFC Bank. This is not a number that I'd like to put on screen, but HDFC Bank will adjust for a better price. Let's look at what Infosys is doing. 6 rupees 65 higher, 1475. Let's look at Reliance. 17 rupees higher, 2944. I also want to pay attention to ITC. For the moment flat, 431. But Hindustan Unilever, remember this is the monsoon impact on FMCG. 13 rupees higher at 2397, just a shy of 2400 points. The Nifty is now 64 points lower, 22,868. That's primarily because of selling pressure on the heaviest weighted stock, which is HDFC Bank. Now has settled sensibly, 12 rupees lower at 1515. Let's look at the NSE 500 and let's look at the earnings, boys. National Aluminium as well as NMDC. Okay, I don't see them. Okay, 2.75% higher on National Aluminium, 199.70. You have a smart move coming in on another earnings, boys, Sumitomo Chemicals, 3.8% higher, 458. And Sakshi, another stock to watch today would be Natco Pharma. Blowout set of earnings, 386 crores worth of profit in the fourth quarter versus 275. The stock is up 8% at 1116. Okay, how about LIC? 1.73% higher at 154. Let's look at the block deal, guys. Timken India, 50 lakh shares will be sold for about 1750 crores by Timken Singapore, 1.4% higher at 4006. A quick look at what's happening in the F&O space. National Aluminium is the top gainer. How about NMDC? What is NMDC doing? Yes, this is a disappointment for the third quarter in a row. It's 2.5% lower at 256. Nothing to be worried about, ladies and gentlemen. The counter's up 111% over the last 1 year. Hindustan Aeronautics mildly down, a percent lower, 5100. You have HDFC Bank sort of settling up at 1516, and the Nifty, ladies and gentlemen, is in the green, 22,974, 41 higher. Dharmesh, have you gone through Natco's earnings?
No, Shailji, I haven't had a chance to go through that.
No worries. Sakshi, what are you watching?
Well, Shail, I wanted to check how PB Fintech is indicating an open in the pre-opening. There are reports that have indicated a block deal worth 1.2% stake to be sold by Tencent Cloud Europe at a discount of 5.5% to yesterday's closing price, and at about 1183 odd or so. 1244.90, about half odd percent of a downtick is something that we are seeing over here on PB Fintech. So we'll continue to keep an eye out on this one as well. Vatek Wabag has got a contract, 5-year contract from Oman, so I'll be watching out for that stock too as to how it reacts to that one. We have some brokerage houses reports. Let's see how stocks have reacted to that. Oro Pharma, let's look at that one too. There are divergent views after the company's earnings came in. Citi has a sell report with the target price of 1040. Even though they believe that the earnings were slightly ahead of estimates, the margin expansion seems to be peaking out right now. 1.1% higher for Oro Pharma. Probably it's indicating a positive start on the back of what BofA Securities has said. A buy rating with a target price of 1350. So bullish target coming in from BofA Securities on Oro Pharma. They believe that it was a better than expected quarter, and therefore the reaction is positive. On USL, United Spirits, let's look at that one too. There are again two reports that I've got, Macquarie and JPM, that's JP Morgan. Now JP Morgan has given 1115 targets, expecting the revenue growth and margin expansion, however, to moderate in the near term. But Macquarie believes with the target price of 1000 on USL that despite subdued demand conditions, high base weighing on first half of sales recovery, but the company has targeted double-digit growth as far as FY25 sales. So that's a bit of a positive that we are getting in terms of the reports that are coming in on the brokerage houses front. Anything that strikes your attention over here? Where would you be keeping your focus, Dharmesh ji?
See, I mean, as of market, we are just, maintaining a balancing act. The longs we have already discussed. No new, traction is there in the market as of now.
Okay. How about Adani Group stocks? On Adani Energy Solutions, there is an uptick of 2.3% odd. There is a report that the company is going to be considering the fundraise today. This could be to the tune of 12,500 crores via QIP. How are you looking at this entire space right now?
On the space, we did play a momentum trade from the technical perspective, more of on the basket of Adani Enterprises, Adani Ports, Adani Power, and the Adani Green. Business-wise, most of the Adani Group's companies have been doing well and fairly, getting new businesses as well with the growth in place. The only problem comes when you look at the valuation of these companies. So that justification becomes very hard to come by. And as long as we don't know when this hyper valuation multiples which are given to these companies are going to be justified, what can be the time correction and when it can start. So we just shy away. We do place clicker trades coming to play. Having said that, the only standout company where still there is some valuation comfort is the Adani Ports and SCJ. So that one still has a good valuation depth or a value buy. Other than that, others are more of a momentum play. business-wise, they are fine. The only difference is the valuation thing.
Okay, let's also welcome Osho Krishnan now with us, Senior Research Analyst, Technicals and Derivatives at Angel One. Good morning to you, Osho, and thank you so much for taking the time out. What are you keeping an eye out on today?
Very good morning to all of you. Well, looking at the market conditions, I am expecting that there can be some kind of consolidation or correction in the near phase because market has already topped out, and on technical parameters, Nifty is having a reversion from the rising channel, upper band of the rising channel. So I am expecting that for Nifty, approximately 23 80 spot levels and 23 160. These are two important levels to watch for Nifty. So I'm expecting that there can be some kind of correction or consolidation in the benchmark index. But in stocks, there are ample opportunities that one can look for. The first pick that I have is from the PSU counters. IOB, Indian Overseas Bank, has given a very strong breakout yesterday, approximately around the zone of 70, 74, 73. So this has the potential to test the zone of approximately 81 to 82 on a positional basis. So it is looking very positive. One should try to gauge momentum in IOB. While on the downside, the support zone lies around 69 odd levels. So that should be the stop loss that aggressive traders can keep for short term view for the target of 82. The other counter where I am looking some kind of traction in the coming period is IT space. So HCL Tech is looking positive. It is having a setting up a strong base for itself. So HCL Tech one can accumulate for a positional basis near about 1350, 1355 is the zone where one should try to accumulate, keeping a stop loss of 1320, and I am expecting a target of nearly 1400 to 1420 in short term perspective.
The markets have settled in pre-open trades, ladies and gentlemen. Thankfully, it's a green tick on the Nifty, 44 points higher at 22,977. Let's see what's driving this momentum. This is good news as far as at least I am concerned. Let's look at HDFC Bank. This is the most critical component. 2 rupees 40 higher, 1530. Sakshi, what's really good news is that all 10 index heavyweights have ended in the green as far as this expiry this day is concerned, and we have a fairly strong uptick in FNO. Let's look at the most active counter. So favorites there, National Aluminium 3% higher, Power Finance Corporation 1% higher, HAL, which is Hindustan Aeronautics, is marginally down. There's no stopping BEL, and of course you have a very strong move coming in Excite, again up almost 1%, 498. We'll take a very quick detour into the PSU space. Earnings boys, LIC and National Aluminium are top gainers. Cochin Shipyard is 1.1% higher, 1994. The company announced a 60 million contract to make an offshore vessel for a European oil major. Strong move coming into Hindustan Zinc, 1% higher, 714, and profit booking happening in Dredging Corp. Earnings led sell off in GMDC, 2% lower, 395. Ditto for NMDC, 1.75% lower. Railway, remember this is a theme that resonated on the long side really well, and I'm actually very surprised. Timken is actually up 4% at 4110 rupees. You have a strong move coming into IRFC, 0.7% higher, 187. RVNL, RITES and IRCON and IRCTC are also in the green. Osho, coming to you, would you have a favorite railway stock even despite this volatility?
See, there are many, but looking at the recent traction, the majority of the counters have surged towards the overbought territory. But from here onwards, also, I am expecting that Titagar Railway is still having the potential to surge approximately towards the zone of 1320, 1350 in the near term. So this counter is still has some kind of potential upside that one can expect. Overall, all the counters are looking very positive, but there can be some kind of profit booking or consolidation. Then it should be considered healthy, because looking at the overall technical developments, majority of the counters, as I mentioned, has reached the overbought zone. So one should not be very much aggressive in these counters. Try to accumulate on some kind of dips, or if they have position, then better to trail their stop losses to the higher levels.
Okay, we'll focus on Natco Pharma, top gainer in the NSE 500 space, 6.8% higher, 1100. Your very quick view on Natco Pharma.
See, looking at today's opening, I am expecting that it is going to have a very strong breakout on the daily chart. So I am expecting the consolidation breakout was near approximately the zone of 1060. So it is opening around 1100 zone. So there is a potential that it has to surge around 1120. So for me, the immediate target or immediate range is 1060 to 1120. So one should try to accumulate this, but there can be some kind of a strong movement because of the opening is nearly 7% higher. So one should wait for first half an hour to settle down the counter. Then one can definitely try to accumulate it for a higher targets.
Okay, got that. Well, Osho, the other thing I wanted to discuss with you is on LIC. How would you really look at the stock post the earnings? And now that the company has indicated its foray into health insurance space as well, today the stock is indicating almost a 2% uptick as an opening. How would you really look at LIC?
See, overall, there is a very strong development in LIC in the last two trading weeks. It has seen a very strong resurgence from the 100-day exponential moving average and has been forming a higher highs, higher lows pattern. So, looking at the recent development, even there is a kind of a pole formation that has been made. So, with the breakout above the zone of 1070, there can be a flat pattern breakout that can be seen in this counter. So, for that, the target will be near about 1160 to 1180. So overall, there is a very bullish sentiments associated to LIC, and I am expecting that in the near period there can be a strong surge that can be seen. But for the time being, 1100 being the psychological level can be seen as the first resistance, followed by 1160.
Okay, so that's as far as LIC is concerned. Well, apart from this, on Oro Pharma also I wanted to take a view from you. How would you really look at this stock after the earnings? There are, divergent views we are getting from brokerage houses. How would you really position yourself on Oro Pharma?
See, overall, this counter is looking very positive. In the last week, we have seen a breakout, consolidation breakout in this counter around the zone of 1180. So I'm still expecting until it sustains above the zone of 1180, these kind of dips should be augured well for the buyer. So one should definitely try to accumulate this counter, keeping a stop loss around 1180 for higher targets of nearly 1260 to 1270 for the short term period.
Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get ready for the opening trades. Remember, all four indices, the major ones, have settled in the green as far as the early deals are concerned. We are hoping for Nifty to open, 45 points higher, 22,973. Very, very strong move coming in as far as the NSE 500 is concerned. 50 points higher, 21,536. Flat move of Nifty Bank as well as Nifty IT. Let's pay attention to what's happening in the Market Watch segment, and you have HDFC Bank 3 rupees higher, 1530. You have Reliance 14 rupees higher, 2947, and you have Infosys a rupee 60 higher, 1472. Good part is all 10 index heavyweights are in the green, and we are led by Reliance, now 0.5% higher. This is good news. Let's look at Hindustan Unilever, 0.4% higher, 2394. Remember, a shade of the market is shifting towards FMCG ahead of what is likely to be a normal monsoon, and of course relatively cheaper valuations of the FMCG index. Okay, SBI is up 1/3%. ICICI and Axis Bank are mildly in the green. And let's now look at the NSE 500 picture. I want to see what block deals have happened. Okay, you have a blowout on Natco Pharma, 5% higher, 1078. These are earnings, boys. Timken India, ladies and gentlemen, surprise, surprise. This is 5% higher at 4160. A block deal of 50 lakh shares is due on Timken India. National Aluminium 5% higher, very strong earnings, 203. You have LIC 1% higher, 1047. No let up in Cochin Shipyard, 1/3% higher, 1972. Let's look at the FMCG space and let's look at the FNO space and find out the top gainers amongst the most active. Okay, it's a repeat of National Aluminium. Okay, there is Power Finance Corporation 1% higher, 518. REC 0.6% higher, 582. NMDC is a third of a percent lower, 261. Let's look at 52-week highs. It's National Aluminium, Power Finance, REC dominating from the PSU space. No let up in Exide, a bit of a green tick. Axis Bank and of course Ashok Leyland. Coming to Osho. Osho 205.80 on National Aluminium. Would you step in or is this something that you'll avoid?
Definitely, looking at the overall trend, it is still very positive, still very bullish. So one can definitely try to accumulate it, but not aggressively at the first 15-20 minutes. There can be some kind of consolidation because the counter has already given a very strong movement above 200 odd level. So I am expecting that now from here onwards, looking at the historical price movement, higher highs, higher lows is the cycle that this counter is moving in. So there is still potential upside movement, although I was expecting a target of nearly 204 yesterday, but it is at 206 now. So there can be some potential upside still waiting in this counter. So one should wait patiently for some kind of dip towards 202, 204 for higher targets of nearly 208 to 12 for short-term perspective. But for medium term, the structure is very bullish. The counter is still having potential to surge higher. So definitely today's gap up, this gap should be acting as a very strong support zone, and one can expect a decent move in the coming period.
Okay, 3 block deals have happened, ladies and gentlemen. Inox Wind, 6.82 crore shares have changed hands for about 1018 crores. This is of course the top traded counter. Policy Bazaar, as Sakshi was mentioning, 1233, a block of 58 lakh shares has happened. And Concord Bio, 3.5% equity changes hands, 40 lakh shares have been traded. The price is about 3% lower at 1394. Sakshi, what are you watching?
Metal space clearly is in action. Hindalco, Tata Steel, JSW Steel, all across the board we are seeing sharp moves coming in. Apart from this, Arvind Limited, that's sharply higher in trade. Sumitomo Chemicals, like we had indicated after strong earnings, is moving up very sharply. Timken India, you had marked out, it's opening about 4.5% higher in trade as well. So across these particular stocks, there is a very sharp move. I'll ask Osho on Arvind, 9% higher in trade. How would you really look at Arvind Limited now?
See, this counter has seen a very strong move today from the 21-day exponential moving average. So the trend was definitely bullish in this counter, but looking at the recent movement, I'm expecting that it is on a surge of giving a breakout around the zone of 380, 382. And once it sustains above the same zone, then one can definitely expect a decent upside rally towards 392 to 394, looking at the pattern, because it has seen a kind of a V shape. It's not perfectly a V-shaped movement, but it has seen a very strong resurgence from the zone of 21-day EMA. So 390.92 should be seen as the immediate target for this counter, but one should wait for again first 15-20 minutes because there can be some kind of correction or cool off that can be seen. So 370 should be the good levels to buy this counter, and on the higher front I am expecting 392 where one should try to book their profits.
Okay, Dharmesh ji, metal space, how are you reading into the momentum currently building on? Of course, Nalco is reacting to its numbers, but across the board, we've seen momentum build on for Hindalco, for JSW Steel, Tata Steel. What is the sense that you're getting in the entire space and how are you positioned?
The sense is bullish. I mean, metal is a cyclical play, but this time the cycle is on the upside. And if you look at the international market also, there has been volatility in the aluminum prices, but copper prices have risen up very fastly. And it's only 5% away from their all-time highs in 2018. So that is the type of traction we have seen. Particularly, all the industrial metal has been doing well. Steel from the infra side on the international front has not picked up that great, and that's conducive for the Indian steel consumption. So in steel, it's more of a volume game than the price realization, and iron ore prices are still benign. So that is helping the entire space. So top picks out there has been JSW Steel, Hindalco, and followed by Jindal Steel and Power. So these are the three companies which looks better in the present context. And yesterday only I was going through a report on the China industrial earnings, the companies which are involved there. They listed a 4.5% kind of a growth in the profitability for the quarter one gone by for the calendar year CY24. So that augurs well for the entire metal space and domestic. We are seeing the infra spending picking up. So there has been a lull of 45 days, but post elections, government spending will resume and that will push the prices higher. So overall, the space looks very attractive, and the top pick is JSW Steel and Hindalco out there.
Okay.
It's going to be a metals and a banking day, Sakshi. You've discussed a lot of metal counters. Hindalco is taking it away 2.4% higher, 696.4. Remember, it had announced a 6,000 crore expansion plan about 2 days ago. There is absolutely no stopping Vedant, 471, 2.3% higher. And all sorts of banks are in fabulous shape. In fact, the Nifty Bank is 185 points higher, 49,481. You have a strong move coming into PNB, 1.2% higher, 131.55. It's primarily PSU led. State Bank of India, fresh high, ladies and gentlemen. We have 840.7 on the board. This is again a 1% uptick on this one. Bandhan Bank, IDBI, First Bank, Canara Bank are all in the green, and of course a very strong balance sheet represented by Indian Bank also doing pretty well. Osho, what would be your top PSU pick today from the banking space?
See, there are many, but as I have mentioned that IOB has seen a very strong breakout yesterday, so I'm expecting that it still has a very strong potential. So this is one of my pick for a positional basis, not for intraday, but this definitely has very strong. I'm expecting a very strong movement in this counter towards 82, 83 odd levels. Other counters which are looking very positive are, as you have already mentioned, PNB has seen a consolidation breakout. So PNB can be seen from a fresh accumulation perspective, because it has been hovering from a very long period near the zone of 125, 128. But with today's or yesterday's session, it has tried moving on the higher end. So I'm expecting that from here onwards, there can be another 5 to 6 point of movement that can be seen in PNB. Nearly 135.36 is the immediate target that one can expect. While on the downside, nearly 125 is the support zone. So I am expecting it should also move in a very decent manner from 1 to 2 days perspective.
Okay, Timken India, ladies and gentlemen, this needs to be marked 6.5% higher, 4,219, a record high. Still, that block deal of 50 lakh shares is due, but the stock is just taking it away because it's news and event led. We will not be taking a technical call, but we are just marking the price right there in front of you. Sakshi, I think one stock that needs to be checked is Hindustan Zinc. Remember, this is a stock with an extremely low float. Osho, what are the charts of Hindustan Zinc telling you? Now the counter is at 745.
See, there has been no looking back in this counter. The time it has surged the zone of nearly 300, 350 odd levels, it has been on a very strong vertical upward rally. So I'm expecting that looking at the overbought position, fresh positions in this counter is not advisable for the timing, because the risk reward is not very much attractive for fresh accumulation. But overall, the trend still has upside movement. But looking at the recent 5 to 4 days kind of a formation, I expect that there is a resistance, very strong resistance near the zone of 760, 765 odd levels. While on the downside, there is a very strong support near 650 odd levels. So there is a very huge gap between risk and reward. So definitely, if one has the position, then keep a strict stop loss of yesterday's low, approximately 700 odd levels, for higher target of 765. But fresh accumulation from my side is not advisable.
Got that. The other space that warrants attention is the Nifty Pharma index that continues to soar higher. 0.5% of a move can be seen on this one, and there's been a continuous move across the space in trade as well. Dharmesh ji, how are you looking at the pharma space? Is it now getting ready for a strong move ahead, especially stocks like Divis Laboratories? There's no let up; it continues to move up higher now. Where exactly are you looking at to build on further fresh positions?
See, the entire space largely has moved up quite a lot, and there has been a strong traction into the space. The fact remains that on the top line front, 10-12% is the revenue growth, but more of operating profit margin increment has helped the operating profit growth and profitability. Largely, pharma has now become more of a commodity play rather than a specialized play. Looking at the Indian pharma companies where no blockbuster drugs are being announced now, there is no off patent coming for them in the generic side. So it's more of a API, a specialty chemical and generic play which is playing out. Price erosion which was happening in the US has slowed down quite extent, and that is helping the Indian pharma space. Uh, in this entire context, I think most of the companies are now at the higher end of the valuation multiples, like Sun Pharma Supply. If you look at it, it's trading at one plus standard deviation from the mean levels. I don't think that this commodity tailwind which is playing out, the input prices can continue for long. Because in the present context and people anticipating volatility and some defensive play, buying is happening, but it's more of a trading bet than an investment. So we have not taken, I mean, we have not recommended earlier and we have not taken any position in the pharma space. Only couple of, calls were there earlier on Window Pharma and Dr. Reddy's. But I don't think now one should be looking into that space. After a week or so, the things will change dramatically. After the verdict is announced, you would be again looking at growth companies.
Okay. So that's as far as the pharma space is concerned. Anything that looks positive to you, Osho, within the pharma space, maybe technically that investors can look at? Any particular counters you've shortlisted?
See, from pharma space, I basically do not prefer because they many a times gives a false breakout and again they plunge towards the support zone. But overall, looking at the recent trend, the laboratories companies are looking very positive. The first company that you have already mentioned, Divi's Lab, has seen a very strong movement and it is still on the upsurge. So I'm expecting the momentum should continue in Divi's Lab, followed by Loris Lab. Loris Lab has seen a very strong traction in the recent period and it has again cool off from the higher levels. So one can expect a decent move in this counter. On the higher end, I am having a target of nearly 460.65, which is the recent swing high. While on the downside, it is having a very strong support zone at 50-day exponential moving average, which is placed approximately around the zone of 430. So from here onwards, one can look for a positional bet in Loris Lab for the short term perspective.
Let's look at a couple of transactions that are happening on Nazara Technologies. Remember, there was a block sale by a promoter, Mr. Mitar Sen, yesterday, and about 6.6% equity changed hands from Mr. Mitar Sen to a very well-known investor called Plutus Wealth. Nazara Technologies, ladies and gentlemen, is now up 4% at about 700, and this is looking to be a very interesting chart. Your view on this one, Osho? Still below 200 DMA and a very strong move coming in yesterday as well as today. Nazara Technologies for you.
See, overall, this counter has seen good traction from last trading session only because if I'll be tracking down the charts, then it has been into a corrective phase. So here onwards also there is not very much, I am not very much aggressive in this counter until it surpasses the zone of 720 on a decisive manner, which is approximately the recent swing high. So till it crosses 720, then one can look for some kind of accumulation, but I'm not very much aggressive. As you have mentioned that it is hovering below 200-day SMA. So 200-day SMA, which is around 775, is the next potential resistance for this counter. So one should try to accumulate it above 720 for target of nearly 770, 775, and it is advisable only for the aggressive traders. Once it surpasses the zone of 200-day SMA on a sustainability basis, then one can look for accumulation in this counter for short to medium term perspective, because these kind of move is basically backed by some kind of news from the management. So I'm not very much driven by these kind of formation at the bottom, but better to wait for some days for consolidation or sustainability, then one can definitely try to accumulate it.
Okay, that's a very, very sensible advice. And I believe, Sakshi, we caught Pharma very well. The index itself is up 0.6%, 19,237 for you. This is the second best performer. Of course, the market is led by the metal space. Nothing, all stocks there in extreme positivity. The metals index is made up of 15 stocks, 12 of them are in the green. The market is in fairly decent shape. We tracked 19 indices for you. About 15 of them are in the green. Those in the losses are nothing much to be worried about. The top loser is the Nifty Realty Index at 1/3% lower. Nothing to be worried. It's the advanced decline. At this moment, it should have been on the front foot, but we just have 1,111 advances versus 850 declines. There's nothing much here. The Nifty sadly is unable to take out 23,000. There is very, very heavy call writing at that point of time. 23,000, 100, 200, 300 are major resistances. And at this point, I think, Sakshi, it's the reverse that's happening. Gainers will fall below losers in a matter of a couple of minutes. But yes, market absolutely defensive. It's the pharma that's clicking. Hospital stocks, Krishna Institute of Medical Sciences 2.4% higher, 1684. We haven't checked Glenmark for a long while. This is also headed for a breakout. Dharmesh, would you have a view on Glenmark, and then Osho will give his technical inputs? Osho, your view on Glenmark?
Yes, Glenmark has seen a very strong breakout in the last trading session, approximately around the zone of 1100. So this should be now acting as a very strong support for this counter. While on the higher end, because already the counter has moved approximately 12% in two trading sessions, so I'm not very much aggressive, but still the target with the formation breakout is 1170. So it is still having potential of around 20 odd points on the higher end. So one should try to accumulate it for a higher target of 1170 on positional basis, only for aggressive intraday traders. But on a positional basis, better to wait for some kind of dip or some kind of cool off in this counter towards the zone of 1130 to 20 for targets of 1170 in the short term period.
Okay, got that. So that's the view coming in on Glenmark. But when we look at the markets, like Shail said, there are more and more segments that are slipping below the flat line now. The small caps and the mid caps have also turned red. We have the next Nifty also slipping, next 50 also slipping into the red, about 1/10% lower. Autos, consumer durables, FMCG, IT and the realty index, they've all slipped as of now, with the realty index losing about 0.7% in trade. PSU banks have turned absolutely flat with a negative bias now. So it's just the pharma, financial services as of now, which are holding up in trade right now, but and the private banks absolutely flat. The Nifty Bank holding absolutely flat at 0.07 odd percent right now. Metals, of course, is the bright spot right there. Metals and pharma, the clear indicators on that front. Osho, how would you advise in this increasing volatility? What should be one strategy on the markets?
See, overall, I am expecting that there can be still a strong spike in the volatility index in the coming period, because we are at the last week before the exit polls and the result week. So one should not be very much aggressive this week. Should try to gauge momentum for intradays or basically for BTST kind of a position, and then one should even exit their positions also, because there can be strong moves that can be seen in the near 1 to 2 trading sessions. And in the last two sessions, there has been very strong positions added up in the benchmark index. So in the on the expiry date, there can be a possibility that people will, or the stronger hands can do some kind of unwinding on their position. So one should not be very much aggressive, because if I'll be talking about the long short ratio, it has surged from 28 towards 49 in the last, as compared from the last week. So it has been a very strong jump on in the long short ratio. So on the expiry day, there is a possibility that the stronger hands are going to have some kind of long unwinding, which can be seen on the benchmark index with the formation of bearish candle it has made yesterday. So I'm not very much aggressive for this week, but from next week, yes, the market has the potential and it is in a very strong cycle. So any dip towards the zone of 2280, 22,800 and 22,700 should be auguring very well for the buyers, and even many of the counters will also see a gradual dip or gradual correction, and that should be a very strong levels to accumulate for short to medium term perspective.
Okay, but any safe haven buying that you would suggest in this extreme volatile environment? Where should one be really putting in or deploying cash to safeguard themselves from this wild swings that we are seeing in the markets?
See, majorly there are few sectors which are looking very positive to me. One is the IT sector. IT sector, because the US markets have performed very well. Yesterday it was closed, but I am expecting in today's session there it has the potential to move on the higher end only. So IT index is one of the counter that one can look to accumulate for short term perspective, followed by many PSU companies, PSU banks and PSCs. Both are looking very positive. So there can be a staggered manner of accumulation in these three sectors for the time being. But except these, there are many rotation that are being seen in the market. So as you have mentioned that pharma sector is moving very well, metal sector is moving very well. So there are sectoral rotation that are being seen in the market. But for the time being, I am expecting IT, because from risk reward point of view, it is at a very subdued zone. It is at a very minimal zone of going on the downside. So there can be a potential strong upside for IT companies in the coming period, looking at the global markets, and PSU companies looking at the sentiments that we have in our country. So these two sectors should be having major focus in the for next two trading weeks.
Okay, 9:38, ladies and gentlemen. As I had mentioned, the advanced decline has now shifted decisively in favor of bears. You have almost 1300 shares, 1281 in the red versus just 838 in the green. So this is something that needs to be looked at. And Sakshi, the selling pressure is now sort of coming to the fore. Only two sectors, pure defensives, FMCG and Pharma, are in the green. And let's look at what's happening in the defensive space as far as FMCG is concerned. Dabur 0.4% higher. Let's look at the open interest here. Okay, FMCG, Jubilant Foods, that's earnings led. McDowell is earnings led. Both of them are higher, but a very strong move coming into Dabur, 0.4% higher, and of course short covering happening in Balrampur Chini, 0.6% drop in open interest. Osho, what would be your favorite stock?
Among these two counters, then I will be preferring Dabur over Balrampur Chini. But one of the counter which is looking very positive to me and it is having a breakout is HDFC AMC. HDFC AMC yesterday has seen a very strong movement, and today it is having a follow-up buying. So I'm expecting that from here onwards there can be a follow-up buying in this counter. Looking at the formation, it is likely to witness a very strong consolidation breakout, multi-week breakout that can be seen. But again, 4,000 being the psychological mark, one should definitely wait for those levels to surpass, because yesterday also, if we will be talking about the highs, then 4,020 was the high. So for today, if it crosses above 4,000 and it sustains for let's say 15-20 minutes, then one can definitely try to accumulate this counter. On the higher end, there is approximately 170 to 180 kind of a target. That means near about 4180, 4200 should be the target for HDFC AMC. So this counter is looking very positive, has been backed by good volumes, and on technical indicators are also giving a very positive crossover. So one should definitely keep this counter in their radar.
Fair point, Sakshi. I think lots and lots of activity happening across the board on Pharma. Dr. Reddy's we don't discuss often, but 1.36% higher, 5981. Let's look at the open interest position in the pharmaceutical stocks. This is led by Glenmark, 3.3% higher. Open interest is 3.5% higher. Ipca Labs, we never discussed this. 8.5% higher on open interest. The counter is about 1% up. Let's look at the Ipca chart. This is used to be a very high beta counter. Remember, they are the world's largest maker of anti-malarial drugs. Flat as flat can be. There's nothing much in terms of price or volume action. 1306, a nice green tick after 3 down days. Any view on Ipca that you have, Osho?
See, overall, the trend for this counter is bullish. It is positive, and on technical indicators also are giving a very strong movement or a positive movement in this counter. But looking at the formation in the last 2 weeks, the counter has not done very much. It is having a very strong consolidation from the zone of 1280 to 1320. So until it surpasses the zone of 1320, there can be some kind of further consolidation that can be seen, but overall trend remains bullish. The time it breaches the higher band, definitely there can be a 40 point of upward rally that can be witnessed in this counter. So 1360, 1370 is the target that one can expect for Ipca Lab, while on the downside 1280 is a very strong support zone, and for short-term traders it is advisable to keep a stop loss of 1280 and buy above 1320 for 1370 kind of a target.
Okay. So that's as far as Ipca Labs is also concerned. We discussed LIC, and now even the private players, SBI Life and HDFC Life, both are showing some strong moves, about 0.7% higher for both of them in trade today. Are you also looking at these private players? Do they show some momentum that could be chased or show on the charts?
See, overall, SBI Life was one of my favorite counters, but looking at the past performance, it has not given much. So, but still, I have this in my watch list. The positive thing is that it is hovering at its 200-day SMA. So, the time it gives a very strong resurgence near the zone of 1450, 1460, then definitely it will be a very strong candidate for accumulating for short-term perspective. So, SBI Life is definitely on my radar, but 1450 is the zone where one should try to accumulate this for a higher target of nearly 1500, 1520.
Okay, got that. And India VIX meanwhile has now surged to 23.6 odd levels, about 1.7% higher in trade. Key monitorable in trade today. Sharp moves coming in on the VIX. It's now trading almost at the day's high level as well. So we'll continue to keep an eye out on this too. Apart from this, let's discuss Jubilant FoodWorks. It's showing momentum in the F&O space as well. It's up by about 3.5% odd or so today. How are you looking at the charts of Jubilant Foods, Osho? Is this looking positive?
See, looking at the nature of this counter, it is high beta counter, and it has seen a very strong movement in the last 2 trading sessions. So definitely it was a buy opportunity for traders in the last trading session. Today, it is very critical to see that whether it sustains the zone of 500 or not. Two reasons for that. First, 500 being the psychological mark and the swing high from where it has seen a plunge to the lower price in the month of February. Second, it is 200-day SMA. So if it closes above 500 for the day, then definitely on positional basis, there can be a good move that one can expect. But again, this being a very high beta counter, I'm not very much aggressive at these levels. But for intraday also, if there will be any kind of dip towards 500 or 495, then one can try to accumulate it for targets of nearly 510 only for intraday. But closing of 500 is very crucial to watch for in Jubilant Food.
Okay.
The other stock, Sakshi, that's buzzing, and from the auto ancillary space again is Exide Industries. A very, very strong move now coming in, 3.5% higher. Remember, Exide is also part of the auto ancillary space where Timken is buzzing. This is a record high, ladies and gentlemen. This needs to be seriously looked into. I remember the other battery maker, ARNM, that's Amara Raja Mobility, is also going great guns. Let's get a view on Excite. This is a far easy stock to track. 509.95. Osho, what are the charts of Excite telling you?
See, for Excite, it is looking very bullish. I was expecting 500 to be the first resistance or hurdle for this counter, but looking at the recent momentum, 500 has definitely been conquered by this counter. So the next target for this counter comes around the zone of 525 to 530. So one should definitely accumulate this counter even at current levels, keeping a stop loss of around today's low of 490 approx levels. 530, 530, 525 to 530 should be seen as the first target for Excite Industry. Overall, the trend has shifted higher. Now the range stands around the zone of 480 to 530 on an immediate basis.
Okay. Let's look at the long-term chart of Dabur Sakshi. A lot of interesting developments happening here. Fifth day in a row, this counter is up, and the bounce has come in from the 200-day moving average at 578. The all-time high for this counter is 661. Not much of a distance, about 10% away. But this is something to be looked forward to against the backdrop of, how should I say, deeply volatile market, and of course, prospects of a good monsoon. The last time we checked Dabur, it was up 0.6%. Now it's up 1.4% in futures, and it's accompanied by a very distinct increase in open interest, 6.6%. We'll keep an eye out on this one, ladies and gentlemen. And there is, of course, a nice move coming into Marico, and of course Pidilite, Godrej Consumer, and of course Jubilant Foods Pizza Maker. So this is a theme that we are tracking on Business Today, which is the monsoon-led recovery in FMCG counters on the back of hopes that the rural demand will pick up because of good monsoon. And of course, this being a massive election year, a lot of money has moved into the hands of the rural population as well. Sakshi, there's no stopping Glenmark. I think this will be 1166. There are three very large block deals that have happened. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is a blowout. This is a breakout and a record high. We've already tracked Glenmark via Osho, but maybe Osho would want to revisit the price action on Glenmark.
See, again, my target remains the same, 1170, 1180, because of the breakout or formation breakout which has been seen. So target comes around 1180. Now this is the momentum that is driving the stock prices, so that cannot be calculated on the uncharted territory. So obviously that can be driven by the buyers in this counter. But looking at the overall trend, it is looking very positive. 1100 on the downside and 1180 immediately on the higher end is the immediate range. But looking at the momentum, I have no clue whether it can go even to 1190 or 1200 odd levels also.
Okay, so that's Glenmark for you, building on the momentum as well. The stock that caught my attention is Max Financial Services. Again, a very strong surge that can be seen on this one. The stock is hovering about 3% higher in trade, and even in the F&O space, it's buzzing as well, about 3.5% odd or so. How do you look at the charts at Max Financial Services? Do they show a momentum that should be chased?
See, overall, this counter is hovering near the 200-day SMA and even the cluster of short-term moving averages. So the technical indicator still is on the downside. It is not very much aggressive for the time being. So I would expect that the zone of 1000 should be seen as the first hurdle. If it passes the zone of 1000, then there can be a potential of strong upside movement in this counter, because then it can even witness a sloping trend line breakout for short-term perspective. So from there onwards, we can witness approximately 1030 to 1040 odd points of movement. But for the time being, better to stay sidelines, wait for a strong breakout above 1000, then only one should try to accumulate.
Got that. So that's as far as Max Financial is concerned. Let's see a whole host of new entrants in the Nifty movers now at this hour. Some cement makers are making a comeback. Ultratech Cement up 1.3%, Grasim up 0.9%, India Cements is buzzing in the F&O space again, 3% higher in trade. How are you looking at this space, a long forgotten space right now?
See, overall, all the capital goods, cement, infra-related companies are doing very positively from the last couple of trading sessions. So, Ultratech was in our radar at the zone of nearly 10,000 odd levels. And looking at the overall trend, it has given a sloping channel breakout around the same zone, 10,000, 100 odd levels. But looking at the overall setup, it is still having very bullish momentum, is likely to be continued in this counter, and one can definitely expect the lifetime highs to get retested for Ultratech Cement. Approximately 10,500, 600 odd points is can be achieved within 1 to 2 trading sessions. So we are quite bullish on this counter, and even with the breakout with in the last 2 trading sessions, it is forming a very strong pattern on the daily formation, and with which the target comes around near about 500 odd points from here onwards. So 10,800 is a medium term perspective target, but for short term, 1,560, 550 is the 10,550, 560 is the target for Ultratech.
Okay, there's no let up in Aurobindo Pharma, ladies and gentlemen. This is again earnings led. The counter is up 2.5% at about 12.21, just shy of its all-time high of 12.45. Not much of volume, but this needs to be brought to your attention given the fact that pharma is the theme of the day, and this is of course news led. Sakshi, across the board, there is just pharma. We don't check Medanta for a long time. This counter is up also at 12.43. The gains that are there in front of me are to the extent of 1.7%. Another hospital change, Krishna Institute of Medical Sciences, better known as KIMS, at 1864. Now this is after a very sharp fall. There was a block deal yesterday of about 5,35,000 shares, and it's now moving up. So large chunks of pharma led by counters such as Glenmark, Divi's, Cipla, Dr. Reddy's in the frontline space, and large chunks of hospital space led by Medanta, KIMS, Apollo Hospitals are the defensive play in the market. Within auto ancillaries, you have a strong move coming into Exide Industries, which is the battery maker. There is absolutely no denying the shine that you have in the metal space, led by earnings giant National Aluminium, where fourth quarter profit has doubled to about 997 crore rupees. Hindustan Zinc is back in shape, 3% higher. Hind Copper, Bank of India, Canara Bank, PNB. These are the top gainers as far as the PSU banking space is concerned. And I will not fail to mention Timken again, now 5.8% higher at 41.85. This is near a record high. These are the things that I have watched. Sakshi, how about you?
Well, apart from Shail, it's again the insurance space that catches my attention. Now even ICICI Prudential has joined the list of gainers as far as the entire insurance space is concerned. So this space we'll continue to watch out for. Apart from this, again, when we look at the IT names, Wipro, LTI, Mindtree are making a comeback. So they are actually rising in trade. And like Osho had pointed out, that IT is where he is now bullish on. What is your own sense on Wipro now? Of course, there has been an exclusion right there and a replacement with the Adani Ports on this front. How do you expect the stock to move now, Osho?
Pardon me, can you please tell me the name again?
Wipro.
Wipro, one second. See again, Wipro is into a consolidation zone for the timing. It is hovering just above the 200-day SMA. And as I have mentioned, that IT space, major of the heavyweight companies are at a very strong support zone. So Wipro also is having a very strong support near the zone of 445. So here onwards, we are not seeing any kind of momentum in this counter for the time being, but definitely a staggered manner or a gradual movement can be seen in the coming period. So I'm expecting that 465 to 70 is the hurdle for this counter, while on the downside 445 is a support zone. So it should be hover within the range. Any breakout from the zone on the higher end, on the lower end, will be providing a strong momentum to this counter. So on the higher end, if it breaches the zone of 465 to 70, then from here onwards, approximately 35 points of movement can be seen. So 500, 510 should be the target for Wipro once it breaches the zone of 465.
Okay, and the Nifty is again turning flattish, 22,950. Very, very volatile trade. Let's look at the India VIX. Yes, it's over 3% higher now, 23.9. Severe volatility now taking place as well. How do you see India VIX now heading, and where do you see it heading now, Osho?
See, overall, India VIX has been, I am expecting that it should reach the zone of 28 to 30 by the exit polls or the elections outcome. So, volatility is likely to have a spike in the coming period into 1-2 trading sessions. So, that is the main concern for our market. So, looking at the recent movement in the volatility index from the zone of 10, we have seen approximately 3 weeks down the line, it was approximately around the lowest point of 10, and within 3 weeks it has surged towards the zone of 30. So there can be some more spike in India VIX in the coming period, and one should definitely try to understand the movability of volatility for next 2 to 3 trading sessions remaining in the week. So I am not very much aggressive, as I have mentioned earlier. Also, I will wait for this week to pass by the exit polls and all the outcomes of elections. Once all will fade down, then one can definitely look for strong opportunities in market, and India VIX again can see a dip from 30 towards the zone of 14-15 in the coming period.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the value of the India VIX is now highest since June of 2022. So nearly a 2-year high that you see, and it's because of rising India VIX that you have the Bank Nifty in the negative, now 43 points lower at 49,234. Remember, the high of the day was 49,500. So from 49,500, we've slipped about 250 points on the Bank Nifty, and the Nifty, while still in the in the green, is now below the daily pivot, which essentially means that the bears are on the front foot. The overall advanced decline picture has deteriorated further. We have now 1400 stocks in the red compared with 777 in the green. Remember, the last time we did an index picture for you, just 4 indices were in the green. Now, ladies and gentlemen, just 4 indices were in the red. Now about 10 indices are in the red, led by the Nifty Realty Index. While there is no cause for panic, one must understand that the Nifty is sluggish after 10-12 days of a sustained rally, and it is finding 23,000 levels very difficult to breach out. Let's look at the most active counters. They are dominated by cash stocks, Policy Bazaar and Inox Wind, because of the block deals that have happened, respectively 800 crores on Policy Bazaar and Inox Wind 1344 crores, followed by earnings boy National Aluminium 700 crores, RVNL down 2%, 673 crores, again block deal major Concord Biotech 607 crores. HDFC Bank has so far total 460 crores, and of course its Cochin shipyard, Hindustan Aeronautics also in the thick of trade. So Sakshi, low volume but a very highly volatile day. Aggressive traders are finding it difficult to make money in options. It's better to be a fence sitter. It's better to raise cash from the profit that you've earned so far, and then wait for the major event to pass to re-enter the market. Sakshi.
Absolutely. Well, with that, thank you so much, Osho, for being with us on this very special edition and helping us with the navigation across the board with this volatility in the fall. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate your time. Viewers, we'll wrap it up at that, the morning edition. The market's absolutely flat, but in the green tick is what we can see. Let's see how the day really progresses from here on. You stay tuned with us on Business Today Television as we will continue to get you, earnings conversations. Apart from this, at 12 noon, we'll be addressing all your stock related queries. In case you are in doubt about as to what should you do with your stocks in this kind of a volatile market, do join in, send us your questions on daily calls and we'll be answering that for you. And of course, Shail and I will be back at closing trades on Market Today at 2:30 p.m. So do watch us at that closing hour too. Thank you so much for joining in.
How would you react to earnings of Cochin Shipyard?
So if you look at Cochin Shipyard, what we see is that these stocks have been